The world is covered in snow, which is been kind of uncommon here for the last couple of winters. So thought we would hit on ground feeding today because we had a phone call this morning, and it's also when I went out this morning, it was so fluffy, and the juncos were going bananas. Their whole world was completely covered in snow. So a couple of tips for the importance of ground feeders, because most ground feeders, classic ground feeders, don't like to feed up in bird feeders. They don't like little perches. They don't like feeding up there. They prefer to feed on the ground. So to cover those in your backyard to help appease those guys, especially juncos and mourning doves and a lot of the other native sparrows like white crowned sparrows, white-throated sparrows, American tree sparrows. Those guys, their whole world is feeding off of the ground. So if you don't address that, those birds can be in trouble during stretches like this, these bad storms. So what I did when I went out and filled the feeders this morning and cleaned the snow off is I made sure that I took my boots and I really patted down the snow underneath the bird feeding area. So I had a good flat kind of hard surface down there of packed snow. And the last thing I did before I went inside is I took ground throw and just threw it straight out on the ground. Just spread it all around there. Good, and boy, the juncos absolutely love it. They were all over it by the time I got inside. The mourning doves really like it. All those ground feeders. There's a little bit of safflower in here too, sunflower. So even the cardinals, who do like to feed off the ground as well, they're down there feeding off of that. They were taking advantage of it. So ground throw, flat, hard surface, open surface like under bushes and under trees that maybe didn't get as much snow accumulation. Just a good toss of some ground throw there, and it will take care of that. That will help those ground feeding birds out. Now you can also use a ground feeder. There are a few of them out there, but a ground feeder is just something that keeps that seed off of the wet ground. I've seen people make their own, or just use a piece of cardboard, or that they not cardboard plywood maybe that they have, they're not using anymore. Use that and kind of build a shelter out of that, lean it so that they can throw seed underneath there during stretches like that to get them to somewhere to get down there and be able to get to the seed. You got to be careful of things that don't drain very well. You can use like an upside down trash can lid or something like that, but once that snow starts to melt, it's going to really get that seed good and soggy. A feeder that does have good drainage is important. This had been out last night. It had 6 inches of snow on the top of it this morning, so you'd have had to dump that out and get fresh seed in there, which is okay. They need some dry seed, and once the temperatures rise and it starts to melt, a tray like this can serve you well there. I see people with something like that. Like I said, they'll put a bunch of ground throw like up in the tray, and they'll take and throw a bunch underneath it because that further shelters it from more snow today. So take care of your ground feeders. You'll be rewarded, and definitely look closer at those sparrows. I mean, there will be house sparrows out there, which we know are the imposters, but there will be a lot of beautiful native sparrows that get pushed into your feeders during snowy times like this. So keep an eye on them, enjoy them, stay safe, and again, go Chiefs.